this game. 89.5, just about 90. That's I'm proud of playing a game that accurate and quickly, and that went to quite a few numbers of moves, so that the moves were made quickly. And my opponent, 81.7, not all that bad either. So I could consider this to be a solid game and a great game to analyze, both in the way the tactics sort of panned out, worked out, went, but also in terms of the excitement of the game. Actually, I choose maybe to limit this to 4 lines. 3 and 20. That'll be fine. All right. So here I am, down here. I have white. So too here for the moves in this analysis, with the ending played out all the way to checkmate. There too I have white, and let's see how this game unfolded. Went about, really. I find this a lot. So e4, then e6, sometimes also after c6. White and black are going to get into an accelerated Panov attack. It comes about from the French defense often enough, and from the Caro-Kann often enough. So I play c4, and this is, for me, this is mostly known territory. We're liquidating pawns. The game is pretty darn close to wide open. All right, this is an open game that will follow, and some of the moves are pretty much like there's one good move to make, and you make that move and you're fine. But then look, as early as white's third best option on move 4, we've already ceded a slight amount of the advantage to black when white plays d4. So it's kind of, I hate to say that it's a sharp opening, because there's not really all that many traps or tricks, but it would be a shame for white to forego the chance here on move 4, or sorry, on move 5, to play knight c3, develop a knight while hitting at black's queen on d5. Alright, so develop with tempo, no problem with that. And yes, there are a number of ways black can play in response, but that's no way to deter yourself from playing a move that seizes the initiative early and develops. All right, and we also want to trust in the opening position a bit here. If knight c3 here has some sort of horrible trap that black can punish white for in return, then something's awry, something's gone wrong. But these are some of the options I've seen black play in response. Queen d8 is fine. It's one of the best options. I see queen a5 just about as often, and I just want to mention that at queen a5, the idea is to get your bishop on d2 as early as you can, and you'll start to win games from tactics after the knight gives a discovered attack on the queen, on black's queen, and the bishop making the attack is also very protected, sometimes even by the knight. And there are a lot of ways here to bang out some wins. There are a lot of ways here to bang out some wins in the early going. If you get the slower time controls against strong opponents, they'll start knowing about those and playing queen d8. But what fun along the way then to have some wins due to discovered checks. Pawn d4. This is known territory. I like this here. White pushes d5, forces black to calculate. Well, sort of. It's 2-on-2 and in the middle of the board, but white is making a point out of denying the c6 square from black's b8 knight. Most often the knights are moving to c6 and f6, and black has to solve d5 before bringing his knight to c6. And often enough, he'll wait for his bishop to make a safe move and then go to d7. There's a slight concession, right? Black is, in that way, just somewhat cramped. White has an advantage in space. And probably mobility as a result. Okay, so bishop to d6 is a fine move, logical. Black's going to castle. The bishop develops to d6 to the d6 square, which is pretty close to the optimal square. Not necessarily the optimal square. He is well protected on d6. I think the most active move was, well, actually, there's a number of great moves. Bishop c5 is strong and active, as some of the tactics against f2 might be coming fairly naturally against white. Bishop b4 is a pin against white's most aggressive knight that can probably just sort of liquidate if white wants to play a3, or if the bishop moves back to a5, then b4 pushes the bishop again. And even e7, bishop e7 here, yeah, is a bit passive, but this knight on f6 is begging to be pinned to his queen, and bishop e7 says nah. And black played bishop d6, and it's more solid, with the pawn protecting the bishop and the bishop protecting the pawn, and stops the d5, stops white's d5 pawn from just rolling. Yeah, it stops that action from occurring on this particular game. I'm pushing these bishop b5. I'm pushing these what I call corner tactics against black's king before he's castled. And Torch wants to say that maybe that wasn't as optimal as I could have been. I'm just pushing the envelope here, sticking to the plan. I mentioned how the knight at f6 could become pinned. Could be a fairly nasty pin too, because there's a knight at c3 that can pour on. Ways to fix the pin directly cost time and have their own challenges. The knight is not involved with any sort of attempt to fix this pin, at least not right now. So I consider the pin on the knight at f6 in this position to be fairly strong. Not crazy, but it definitely adds to the pressure that white is placing against black here in the early going. King castles. This is a castle trying to make the game more tactical and perhaps capitalize on some fleeting tactics that might move away in a minute. And yes, king onto the c file. Are you crazy, Jay? Are you crazy? More gravity? Because there are 1, 2, 3 different pieces that can put themselves on the c file and put pressure directly against white's king. On the other hand, king b1. And if again pressure along this diagonal that has some healthy healthy ways that black can pressure along the b1 to h7 diagonal, then king a1. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. The king is safe enough in the long run. Right away, yes. On the c file here, a little bit ambitious. And let's see what let's see what Torch has for us. It's a sharp, it's a blunder, it's a sharp blunder, meaning there's one and only one response that black can make to really capitalize on this queenside castling mistake. And Torch shows the way. Now I'll note this on my. This is 49, between minute 49 and 50. I'm just taking note because I see right now an overlay. Like when I hover over this move, it shows me a position in miniature of the way Torch sees that the line continuing. It's really handy dandy. Great way for checking tactics. And I'm going to check later if you all, my Gravitrons, my watchers, my viewers, can see that as well when this broadcast is finished. I'll go back to 49, but here back where we are. Bishop takes g2. Okay, so this is a one and done move it or lose it, where black can play bishop takes g2 and then thereafter get at the no matter how white responds, thereafter claim the h1 rook, a stronger piece, and has also claimed a pawn on the way. So that would be a devastating blow against white. Black missed that opportunity and off goes the c6 bishop. Now that's black's side. What black should have captured, black's strongest move was to capture on g2. But how about here, instead of queenside castles, because of this opportunity for black, white could have well played bishop takes c6 and then castled and probably been a lot safer from these tactics along the h1 to a8 diagonal. In fact, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see how things go when instead of castling queenside, white captures on the queenside. So this is a lot better. And now I want to see, is the queenside castle now useful or good? Yeah, queenside castle now is best because we've eliminated the bishop that would otherwise capture our rook sitting here on h1, its starting position, and the pawn on g2. Alright, so that sometimes move order is very important, and sometimes it comes down to noticing a tactic and deciding which move should be played or made in what order. Right? Okay, a6 misses the opportunity again on g2. White removes that opportunity for the rest of the game by playing bishop takes c6. No promotion. No, I'm kidding. Knight e4 looks to pour on against the knight at f6. And now the critical point of the game is after knight e4, move knight to e5 shows that black has succumbed to the pressure. White is pressuring most in this position, and in recent moves too. Recent positions arriving from the moves preceding. White is pressuring. And the move knight at c6 to e5 is a blunder. I see the logic that rook to c1 check could create a lot of havoc on white's queen side, but there's some serious material losses and before that, and placing themselves higher along the hierarchy of move importance or forces. Check. I'm looking to trade queens. I got my queen trade. I'm up a piece. There's no queens on the board. Some fairly simple problems to solve, and the rest of it is a good way to win a game when you're up a piece. Now here, here knight c4. White should probably play rook d8 check. Nothing better than to trade rooks, and then how white is now safer. Traded some material, traded black's strongest piece off of the board, and we remember that an active rook in the endgame can cause a lot of havoc and a lot of thinking. So I would have, if I had this position again, I would play rook to d8, giving check, and there will be an important piece swap on d8. And here we see Torch's rendition of how that game could continue. Well, I might remember to go back to move 22. This is also good, forcing a swap of minor pieces. It's not all that bad. I will just sort of move on from there. All right. So we were looking at move somewhere around the early 20s. All right. Let's play from here. It's white's turn to move. Let's see if this makes sense, right? So it turns out the rooks. I swapped the rooks thinking that the game would be more simple as a result. Instead, the game became more complicated. Alright. That's it for this session. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons, for watching. I'm More Gravity. Have a great afternoon.